Thank you. All right, Greenville City Council will come call the order. Call the roll.
Rogers.
Here.
Schmidt.
Here.
White.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Ely. Here. Godwin.
Here.
Norris.
Here. If I get everyone to stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Evening, everyone. City Council members, you were emailed out the minutes. They will stand approved as emailed out unless there's someone that needs to change. Okay. Approval of the current financial report that was emailed out. I will entertain a motion to approve. Motion to approve by Mr. Brown.
Question there before we go on. Question about the finance report.
Yeah, so discussion?
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Just trying to understand. There's the two-page report that covers expenditures and the 31-page report that covers expenditures. Shouldn't the expenditures match up and the encumbrance match up?
You have a year-to-date report.
I have the month-to-date, year-to-date, and year-to-date.
So the year-to-date fund report is cash balance. The month-to-date, year-to-date report is encumbrances and cash. So we can go over that. This is probably not the time if you want to set up, we're going to go over and have a meeting and review that, and I can explain to you how those reports are. And
So
we can.
expenditures should not match from one to the other.
So you have encumbrances and expenditures, and like I said, it would be best if we could sit down and visually I could show you what was what, and then if you don't want to approve that, you are certainly can
Trying to understand
not.
it. It's not a question.
Right, and that's why I ask you to come to the office and we can sit down and go over all of that. I'd be happy to. Just right now, it's hard to without me having the report in front of me and you asking the specific questions. So one report is a cash report, so it shows the cash as we receive the revenues and the expenditures and the encumbrances. And the other month-to-date, year-to-date report might have been ran prior to us being closed out. I'm not sure what the dates are on that. Jessica automatically runs them and sends them out with all of the other correspondence. But I will be absolutely happy to go over line by line with that with you if you would like to come and see me.
Fine.
Any other discussion? Call the roll.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely.
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes. Okay, moving on, we have the approval of the agenda. There is a number 13 to add. It's a supplemental ordinance for some tornado damage stuff, correct?
May I speak, Mr. President?
Yep.
Okay, so yes, we received the insurance claim money regarding the tornado damage, the damages that were assessed by the adjuster. The adjuster then put everything together, did all the paperwork, all the assessments, and we received the funding and receipted the funding today. So in lieu of all the damages that we have, we need the cash to be appropriated in order to help facilitate those expenditures that of the repairs and the grinding and this is just the beginning. This is not all encompassing. This is just what needs immediate attention. So I know the Safety Service Director, Mr. Delk, and Mr. Myers and I are still working towards getting final resolutions on everything, but we have not finalized anything at all. We're just getting this started so that we can get the cash to make the immediate repairs that we need.
Okay. Any other questions on the agenda, approving the agenda? Yep, that's the only one.
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Moved by Mr. Schmidt to approve the agenda as amended. Discussion. Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes. Okay, moving on to public hearing part of the meeting. Anyone would like to get up to the podium and speak? Is your time.
Just a couple things. I've had people approach me about this ordinance police thing, and they'd like to know, first of all, where do they call? Second of all, do they have to fill out any paperwork? And third, will it be revealed that if they called on someone, would their name be released?
You want to take that, Ryan?
Absolutely. So call the Planning and Zoning Department, 937-548-4930.
Okay,
And no, it will not be revealed who
Okay.
complains. And they just call, give their concern. Our code enforcement inspector goes out and checks it, sees if there's an ordinance that has been broken, and then starts that process with contacting the owner, sending letters, and
and what exactly is the steps? Because I know somebody already has been approached and nothing's been done, and it's now been a month. And
yeah.
so,
it's going to take longer than a month.
Oh, okay.
So we send first letter, depends how bad the violation is or where it falls in.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a lot of these right now. So we get 30 days, and then they get a final notice, and then after the final notice, so we have to give them a set amount of time from our law director, what he's comfortable with to clean the problem up. And then the next step, then we can take them to court, but we're not allowed, I shouldn't say we're not allowed. The court asks that we don't bombard them with 40 or 50 of these in a month.
Right.
So we have to be strategic, and we can only take a few a week to the courts. And we go to the courts, and then that costs us money, time.
well, part of this problem is there are branches still laying in this person's yard. Now, those cannot be pulled out into the street. They're going to have to be cut up, aren't they? Because I'm like, should somebody go down there and cut these limbs up and lay them in the street?
Oh, you're talking like Karen or Harmon and.
You got it, and the
Okay,
neighbors are
Broadway.
complaining. And so what would be the protocol? I mean, how do you handle something like that?
So we send a letter. That one's a little bit easier because we can go down and chop them up and then
Okay.
send them a bill and assess that one to their
Okay,
taxes.
all right, here.
Limbs are a little easier
Yeah,
than
the neighbors
other
have
things.
said, how long is it gonna take? Because that's a pretty sad sight down there.
Because I think that's in the sidewalk too, right? Or part of
Yeah,
it,
and the
whatever.
trash hasn't been cleaned up in months there by the garage door, and the trees that's in the back are actually bushes that have grown. And I can't even imagine what the swimming pool looks like back there. Okay, so the other day I was driving, getting ready to turn down High Street, and I was up here the last time talking about golf carts. I wish they had some kind of rules. I don't know if the city can make rules. I saw a person driving with one hand on the wheel and her other hand is holding a dog. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that is an accident waiting to happen because she's holding this little schnauzer type dog and she's trying to guide this golf cart around. Can the city make any kind of ordinances, rules, or regulation? Because people are already asking, how come children can drive these things and no safety belts? How does that work? Is that a state thing? Is that a city thing?
So golf carts are, Ohio Revised Code is what allows them to be licensed for the streets, and then they have to obey all traffic laws, just like a vehicle or a motorcycle or a moped or
A
anything else.
12-year-old?
Well, that'd be illegal, so like if
So-
they get pulled over, they get a ticket. Absolutely.
Okay, so, all
It's not a
right.
free-for-all by any means.
Well, that lady with that dog scared me because I could tell she was trying to drive it with her left arm and hold on to this little dog. Okay, I just want to say I went to the first Friday that they had a few weeks ago. It was fantastic. Organizations up there, and I hope more people, they had a pretty good turnout. So I learned a lot. I talked to the new guy at the Welcome Center. And then also I have learned there's going to be something Friday, and I'm sure Mrs. Ely will be talking about that possibly, the music thing. And I hope that if anybody's watching this, that they turn out for it, because it is being moved to, what's that place called? Tip Top something? Sure Shot, okay. That's where it's going to be. And I'm going to be down there interpreting some songs, because I am an interpreter, so I will be down there enjoying the music as well. So I hope you guys all come out and support the people that are going to be singing. Montessori School is going to be there. A number of different people are going to be singing, including Mrs. Ely, so I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
So amongst your legislation on the agenda this evening is a supplemental request from me for maintenance for $20,000. So I'm here to give you an explanation because this is not my norm, especially in the month of June, to be coming and asking council for more funds. So to give you an idea, currently we have just over $10,000 available to us in maintenance. Normally this time of year, for the last 4 years anyway, our average at this time of the year is over $23,000. So the money that are available to us represents just under 17% of our remaining budget. And the reality of it, it's more like 2%, which I'll explain in a minute. So historically, I've budgeted for the last 4 years $57,800, and that's been able to get us through. And so historically, to increase this year was only $3,000 more. So, but we're in this state, and the reason is primarily is for the unexpected maintenance costs for our 2011 Pierce Quint, which is also known as 172. In the first quarter, we spent just under $13,000 in engine repairs. It was basically a partial rebuild because of oil leaks. After the tornado event, we seized up the clutch on the fan, and we had to replace that for an additional $3,200. And now I have a quote. We just had ladder testing done. Our ladder, the Quint, failed, which is the 75-foot aerial device on that. It's failed and needs immediately fixed, and that quote is almost $9,000. I have yet to put that PO in because of the fact I just told you I just have a little more intense. So just in that one piece, unexpected maintenance to date for this year is, we'll call it $25,000. You take that out of the equation, and I'm right where I normally am for this time of year. It's just unexpected. But I wanted to be upfront and let you know why I need $20,000 just to get through the rest of the year. And I'll take any questions that anybody has on the matter.
What year is the piece of equipment? What year?
It's a 2011. And it is our primary piece, so we do run it more than anything else that we have.
Russ, what failed on the ladder?
I'm sorry?
What failed on the ladder?
It's I'm going to speak. It's what they call the T-blocks. It's basically the slide pads and the T-blocks that guides the extension. That's basically a 75-foot extension ladder. So the inspector found multiples of those that were broke. And then further inspection, and with our maintenance guy at Atlantic, who represents Pierce, looked at that too and said, you need to replace all of them.
Got you.
And that's what this estimate is for that, plus the repairs. We also looked at using our own people to make these repairs, which we try to do as often as we can. And when we looked into it, we decided that this is not one that we want to tackle.
It needs to be certified.
It has to, yes. Currently, I got a letter from them telling us it's not certified until we get this done.
So is it out of service to use the ladder now?
So right now, it's under what they call a cautionary state. We can use it under caution
Okay.
with plans to make the repairs. So if we were not going to make these repairs, then we would have no choice but to take it out of service.
Got you. Okay.
Not an option, really, a good option anyway.
So Russ, when you say at this point in the year, so if your budget is like 60,000 for maintenance, you're talking about the first 30 you run out of, basically, and you still have the other 30 in your pocket?
That's correct. So we do all our scheduled maintenance, our preventive maintenance for the fleet, all our annual testing for ground ladders and everything else that we do. We do that in this first 6 months, which takes the bulk, about 60 to 65% of our budget right now. And then, of course, we have unexpected little stuff that comes into play and it takes that. So from here on out, normally, we have plenty of funds. The worst case was last year when I was running short towards PO cutoff time. We forecasted that, and I simply asked for the transfer of existing funds in other accounts within my budget to make sure we had enough funding to get us through November and December, which accomplished that.
So the maintenance itself, though, if you look back, has run greater than your budget last year and the year before, and is going to overrun it this year as well as we look towards next year's budget, is what I'm trying to.
I think, yes.
Fair? With this, you think you're set for the rest of the year?
Only if I don't have anything major I can't predict, I mean, if we lose a pump on a truck, I mean, I'm gonna be back. I mean, there's blowing engine, I mean, those things we can't not predict. We do our best to prevent those things from happening, and some things, stuff still happens. No different than on your own vehicles. The difference is my vehicles cost a lot more than yours. So,
You gotta take in consideration this vehicle's 13 years old.
it is. And we're fortunate right now because our other pieces that are 30 years old are not giving us the same problems as the magnitude of our 2011.
Yeah.
So,
All right, any other questions for Chief?
The one you got on order, what's that replacing?
that is replacing the 1997 Pierce engine and the 1972 utility vehicle, also known as our area unit. And that apparatus is not scheduled to be delivered until approximately the first quarter of 2026.
A few more years.
That's crazy.
Amy?
Okay.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Russ.
Thank you for the explanation.
Anyone else, public hearing? All right, moving on to administration reports, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. First of all, I want to mention a great effort made by Marty McCabe and his wife Connie for a fundraiser that they put on last Tuesday at the Corner Shack there in Russ and Ohio Street. About 275 to 300 people showed up. They had a goal of raising $2,000 for the park fund for the trees and the park and the cemetery. They didn't raise $2,000, they raised $3,166, and it was just a really good event. And it just showed again the fact that the people of the citizens of Greenville are coming together in this effort to make our park as beautiful as it can be. And quite frankly, I'll say, driving around the park, you know, all the work that's been done, it's been 6 weeks ago tonight that tornado hit, and I just find it incredible how clean our city has gotten from that disaster, and particularly in the park area and all the homes that were damaged. My empathy is towards all those people that are dealing with all that. And anyway, barbecue and brews and coming up on Friday, July the 12th. That's a nice event that's coming up. The Dark County Center for the Arts sponsors that every July, and it's out in front of the library. You can get tickets online at DACA.org. Also want to mention the city fireworks display. I sent out some press releases today. It's going to be Saturday, July the 6th at dusk, which is generally around 10 o'clock at the Dark County Fairgrounds. We've got a very nice display coming up, and look forward to inviting everybody. Come out and enjoy it with your family. It's a great event. And again, there's going to be food trucks at the fairgrounds throughout that day. That's also the same day that the Ringer Classic Horseshoe Tournament is occurring at the City Park. The horseshoe, what do you call them?
Courts?
Yeah, the courts are all cleared out. The tournament is good to go, and we're looking forward to a great event there. It brings out a lot of very good horseshoe players, and it's pretty entertaining to watch. So the last thing I want to mention is with regards to items 2 and 3, the 2 resolutions regarding the renewal of the levies. I just want to make sure that the citizens of Greenville understand that these levies bring in, close to $1 million for the city revenue. Is that about right?
I don't know the exact number.
It's somewhere around that, I think. But if these 2 levies, these are not new taxes. I'm not trying to quote George Bush, but these are not new taxes. They're renewal of existing levies. And if they don't pass, we have to cut services. That's just plain and simple. So I just want to stress the importance of first of all, the timeliness of acting on these resolutions tonight and getting these going through the proper channels to get them on the ballot in time for the November election. So these have to pass. With that, I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Safety Service Director, Ryan Delk.
Thank you, Mr. President. Few things for this evening. First of all, the tornado cleanup is still ongoing. As Ms. Davis mentioned, we did receive our insurance payment, so now we have to work through that and get quotes and make sure that we can repair everything for what the insurance company has given us. To date, we are at about $110,000 in cleanup. Most of that is for container rentals and labor and rental of equipment and man hours and a few odds and ends at the pool. The bigger items would have been like the chlorine shed, but that's just like cleanup to this point. We have kind of coming, next step is to get the brush pile at the pool parking lot ground up and all the lumber going. We did sell some of the lumber. We sold some what they call pallet logs, which are the not as desirable logs, and we sold like some oak and I think oak, 2 hickory, and a red oak, a white oak, and like 2 hickory trees, and we received $8,100 for selling those logs. I'm waiting on another quote for the brush grinding, but the brush grinding I'm gonna estimate is gonna be somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000 additional. And then we're having a tree trimmer come in and trim up all of our trees and try to save the ones that we can save, cut the dead out of the other ones, and that's probably gonna be another 20,000-ish in cleanup out there. And then that doesn't include all the structures that have to be replaced or repaired as well. So kind of a big undertaking, but we're making progress. Yellow Park restrooms, the plumbers were in this week. The plan is to get the block layers back in this weekend to do the interior walls, and then we have a subcontractor coming in next week to put the roof system on. Once we get that part accomplished, we can go in and do the electric painting, and then the plumbers are scheduled back, I believe it's July 18th, to hang all the fixtures, get the doors installed, and hook everything back up. So we're moving along here. We're not, we didn't meet our goal of Memorial Day, and we didn't meet our goal of July 4th, but we're still plugging away, and we're going to make it happen yet this summer. Schweitzer Street project, I had sent all council kind of the questions and answers. So basically, that is something that myself and our engineering firm work with ODOT on. ODOT has a lot of say in what can and can't be in there, but that is kind of the rough draft of what we'll send out to everyone in the area. So ODOT doesn't like to do press releases or anything until that document is completely ready to go, and they gave us until July 13th to get all of our, anything we wanted added or taken out. Then they'll put it together, we'll mail everything out, and then we'll start like the public comment section to work through all the concerns for that project as well.
Ryan, will you have public hearings with regards to that project?
Yes, it's a requirement by ODOT.
That's what I
Yep.
thought, but I just didn't quite hear that. I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I guess public concerns and
okay,
and
sorry.
then also public hearings. I didn't word it correctly, but it's both. But yes, we will. I spoke last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was we met last, about our lead line requirements that are coming up. So right now I'm working with the water department. So we're coming up with a flyer that we can start sending out to residents. We haven't totally decided how we're going to do it yet. We're thinking maybe we're going to take them and tape them to doors, and we have to do the entire city, and that will, so that's one, I guess, the cheapest, easiest, quickest route, as far as without us actually going out and physically checking everything. We can give these pamphlets to the residents, and then they can look at the line themselves and identify if they think it's copper, lead, or galvanized, and there's a checklist in there that they'll have to go through. So we're kind of working on finalizing that. The main document came from the Ohio EPA, or the federal EPA, I guess, and then we kind of geared it based on Greenville and tried to clean it up a little bit. So we're working through that. And then we have to have that report back to the EPA by mid-October, I believe. So we're really under the gun on trying to get that accomplished. Received back our electrical aggregation contract today. So AGE, who is our consultant, is currently working on a press release and mailers, but the rate came in at 0.0718 per kilowatt hour. And that's for a 12-month period starting December of 2024 to December of 2025. Current rate is 0.0499. You'll have that rate until December. So this new rate will kick in whenever your reading is in December.
We'll start on your first reading.
Yep, start on your first reading, yep.
And what was the new one,
0.0718 per kilowatt hour.
it's going from 0.04 to 0.07?
Yeah, so basically 5 cents to a little over 7 cents per kilowatt hour. So they're a consultant, and that's why we have them, because they're the experts on it. Personally, I was not thrilled with the number. And then I checked some apples to apples. So currently, right now, you can get on apples to apples, and you can sign up for a 12-month period that's starting right now that's less than that 7. It's like 6, I think it's 6.5, something in that area. And the explanation I was given was, if you sign up for that 12-month now, it starts now, and you lose that 5 cents until December, and then in December, when ours only goes up to this, others are going to go up higher. So that's kind of if anyone gets on the apples to apples, like, wait a minute, like, this isn't such a great deal. That's an explanation of why. And then for legislation, there's some legislation on here for Vector and gas for the street opening. So Ritter is doing this project for Vector again this year. They plan to start in August. It's 60 openings. It's in the area of Fort Recovery Road, Knoll, Park Drive, West Street. So this is really one of Vectron's last projects. If anyone's familiar with the bare steel that they've been doing for probably the last 10 years all over the state, let alone the city. Unfortunately, I'm told that now they've found that there's some plastic pipe that was put in the ground in the 70s that they're going to have to start replacing. So I don't know that it will end, but we're going to keep working with them. I'd like to congratulate, Nicholas Colby is our newest officer. The mayor swore him in at 10 o'clock today. Today was his first day. He's actually graduating from Edison tonight. Lieutenant Boyer and Lieutenant Benji are there attending his graduation. So we're excited to have him. His next step, we'll start getting him through field training. He still has a state test he has to pass. And then he'll be probably 8 to 12 weeks before he can go on his own by the time he goes through field training. Just depends how quickly he moves along, but we're excited to have. He's a local gentleman, graduated from Greenville, really has a big heart, and I think he'll make a great officer for us. And then last but not least, I want to send a big shout out, a thank you to Steve Black and the American Legion for putting the flags on the circle. It's one of those things that I know I take for granted. You drive around, you're like, man, that's great. And I had the opportunity to sit down and chat with Steve a little bit last night when I was leaving work. They were getting ready to take the flags out from Flag Day. And I went out and helped them, and it was hot. But they do it all the time, and they don't ask for anything, and it's just another like little thing that makes Greenville great. Like, people come to town and they see those flags around the circle, and there's so many videos out there on social media and talks about that, and it's something that I don't think we thank them enough for, let alone their service, but then for what they do to honor America. So I just want to say a big thank you to all those guys and gals. And with that, I will answer any questions, but I will pass.
Question on Brightspeed.
Yes, sir.
That project.
today, I had them at the door while I was at work, and they were wanting to like trace all the way from the meter through my backyard because it's fenced in, and like everything's behind the fence, the access and stuff. I just wasn't sure, like, why do they need to go through the backyards, or do they need to go through the backyards?
So, do you have that speed, I guess, is?
No, they were trying to locate I'm assuming locating for them running whatever.
Oh, they were trying
it was
to,
behind Willow, behind Circle there, where all those in-the-ground boxes are. And so I just wasn't sure why they would have to go through the yard.
So it depends how it's called in. Like when you call in an oops ticket, if you say, I want everything located from Willow to Circle, by law, they have to mark everything they know is there,
Okay.
regardless of like,
Whether it's,
they know where it is or not.
Okay.
But by law, they have to mark that. I'm sure that's attempt to mark it all.
okay, thank you.
you're welcome. Any other questions for?
Concerning the aggregation for the electric for AES, there's also the one for the natural gas coming up as well, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the dates, but I don't think it's in December. I'd have to look and get back to you.
There's nothing in the works on that one yet, or
No,
consultant working on?
yeah, that's their next, yes, but I can't remember the date of when that one expires.
I thought they were close together.
Yeah, it might be December as well, now that you say that. I'd have to double check. I looked at everything on the pamphlet except the natural gas, I'll be honest with you today.
Just a question.
What's the name of the company that's
Dynegy.
Dynegy?
Yep.
Dynegy for the electric.
For the electric, yeah. And I'll look up online and see when that other one expires.
Okay. Any other questions for Ryan? All right, moving on to the law director's not here tonight. He's out of town, I believe. City Auditor, Ms. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a request, first of all, for a committee assignment. I've received a community funds request from the Daughters of the American Revolution, and they're requesting funding for a repair to the Gold Star Monument in the city park. So I need to have that assigned so that we can review the funds and review the funding for that.
Okay, that would be the Finance Committee, I take it, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, today's the 18th. Can you have that back for next meeting? Or you want to shoot for the 16th?
We may be able to add that on to our other, let's shoot for the first meeting and see
Okay.
if we can get up.
All right, I'll sign that committee assignment.
Thank you, Mr. President. So next I have, I know there was some question last meeting regarding the legislation passage of the millage for the 1.2 and the 3.8. So I wanted to make sure that everyone understood the process. The last, because there are two more pieces of legislation currently on the agenda tonight. The first piece of legislation was the city has to provide the county auditor with the adoption of the necessity for the city to have that put on the ballot. The second phase of this is the county auditor then has to provide a certification of the estimated property tax revenue and a resolution to proceed. So the first piece of legislation was on us to provide. The second piece of legislation came back to us from the county auditor, Ms. Skin. And the third piece that has to happen is we have to adopt the legislation that is currently on the agenda this evening and provide that to a copy to the county auditor. Then we also had to file all three to the Board of Elections prior to the November election. They need to have it 90 days prior to the election in order to get it ready for the ballot, which will appear in November. So I wanted to make sure everyone understood the processes of that. This is not just a duplicate piece of legislation that we've already passed. The other thing, obviously, we already discussed, we did receive our insurance checks for the property damage. What I want to make council very aware of is the grinding and the tree removal and all of that is not covered under our property and casualty insurance, just the damage to the structures and the property of the park. So those expenditures will be on the city to spend. So we will be coming back periodically now until we can get the rest of this cleaned up and the expenditures figured out and the repairs, the estimates. So the expenditures that Ryan's talking about, the 110 for the grinding and the cleaning and all of that, is not covered by the carrier. It's only, the only thing that's covered by the carrier as far as tree removal is if the tree falls actually on a dwelling and has to be removed. So I just want to make that clear, and we'll keep, you know, the information coming to you guys as we get the estimates together and all of that. So I think that's everything I had for this evening. I will absolutely take any questions anybody has, and with that, I will pass.
So Kim, with the extra costs that we're going to have to incur
Yes,
and where we're at with our spending year to date,
yes.
is the health of our finances and our financial report and our budget all solid?
Right now, that's what we're working through continually, obviously. So we want to get the 2025 budget together. We also have to see where we are financially as far as repairs. Once we get those repairs in, I will have a much better idea what those costs looks like in the next meeting or the meeting after. Right now, we're fiscally fine. We're fiscally fine where we are. It's just, this isn't, like the chief said, like Chief Thompson indicated, this is not an expenditure that we counted on, obviously.
I understand.
So this is something that we'll have to look at and say, well, maybe we won't purchase this or that this year, and we're slowing our roll a little bit to make sure that we can financially take on this new expenditure that we did not plan on. Okay? Anybody else?
Thank you.
Uh-huh,
All right, thank you, Ms. Davis.
thank you.
Committee reports, we have none, correct? Moving on to ordinances and resolutions, we have 13. Let's start with the resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into contract with Dark County Educational Services.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into contract with Dark County Educational Services for transportation services. This resolution authorizes the mayor to enter into contract with Dark County Educational Services for transportation services. This resolution was given the first reading.
Move to suspend the rules, give this resolution reading by title only.
Moved by Mr. Schmidt to suspend the rules, give this resolution third reading by title only. Discussion? Call the roll.
Rogers.
Abstain?
Schmidt.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Brown.
Abstain.
Ely.
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes. Is that enough to suspend the rules?
Nope.
Okay, is that something that needs passed?
It's revenue.
It's pardon, it's revenue?
Revenue for
Okay.
transit, but we can't pass it with that vote.
I know on the two abstain, I know Leon, you have no manager, right? You're just an employee there, right?
Right.
So technically, I don't think you would have to abstain. Where Mr. Brown is a manager that makes decisions on contracts, I think I would accept his abstain, but you're free to vote on it.
Okay.
How would you like to vote?
No.
Okay. All right, we will let this roll another week or another meeting and vote on it. Moving on to number 2, resolution to proceed with the 1.2 mil, submission of the 1.2 mil levy.
A resolution to proceed with submission of the question of levying a renewal tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the purpose of current expenses for the city of Greenville and declaring an emergency. This resolution declares the necessity for the renewal of a previously voted 1.2 mil tax levy for current operating expenses and shall be submitted to the qualified electors of the city of Greenville, Ohio at the general election in said city on Tuesday, the 5th day of November, 2024. This resolution has an emergency clause.
Move to suspend the rules, give this resolution second, third reading by title only.
I think it's It's already been read. This is the second time it's been read, right? No? Okay.
Yeah, this-
Moved by Mr. Schmidt to suspend the rules and read this resolution, second, third reading, title only. Discussion. Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
A resolution to proceed with submission of the question of levying a renewal tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the purpose of current expenses for the city of Greenville and declaring an emergency. A resolution to proceed with submission of the question of levying a renewal tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the purpose of current expenses for the city of Greenville and declaring an emergency.
Motion to adopt the emergency clause?
Moved by Mr. Godwin to adopt the emergency clause. Discussion on the emergency clause. Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Motion to adopt?
Motion by Mr. Godwin to adopt this resolution. Discussion on the adoption.
I have a couple questions, Mr. President.
Yes.
Can you explain the preamble portion of the 122,000?
So that's the real estate that was given, the number of real estate given to us by the county auditor. And that format is state required. So she actually sent us the format in which we had and filled it, and we were given those numbers by her as far as the real estate assess.
So is the 122,000 what the city will gain from this
I think
one?
that's just the real estate amount, and then they have a portion, maybe.
At what?
I didn't,
I'm building up to, at the bottom,
Go
it
ahead.
says dollar amount of revenue generated, 360 million.
that's the real estate. So it's not all, we do not get all of that. We only get a portion of that.
Okay, that's why I asked, the 122 is our portion?
Yes, our portion. The real estate total and then our portion.
So that 360 million is the total real estate tax revenue.
And it's divided between counties, townships, the county gets some, all the townships,
That's
the
all
villages.
for Greenville,
That's Dark County.
all of Dark County. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to number 3, resolution to proceed with the submission of the 3.8 mil levy renewal tax.
A resolution to proceed with submission of the question of levying a renewal tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the purpose of current expenses for the city of Greenville and declaring an emergency. This resolution declares the necessity for the renewal of a previously voted 3.8 mil tax levy for current operating expenses and shall be submitted to the qualified electors of the city of Greenville, Ohio at the general election in said city on Tuesday, the 5th day of November, 2024. This resolution has an emergency clause.
Move to suspend the rules, give this resolution second and third reading by title only.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to suspend the rules, give this resolution second, third reading by title only. Discussion? Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
A resolution to proceed with submission of the question of levying a renewal tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the purpose of current expenses for the city of Greenville and declaring an emergency. A resolution to proceed with submission of the question of levying a renewal tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the purpose of current expenses for the city of Greenville and declaring an emergency.
Motion to adopt the emergency clause?
Moved by Mr. Godwin to adopt emergency clause. Discussion? Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Moved by Mr. Brown to adopt the resolution. Discussion? Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to number 4, a supplemental ordinance.
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Greenville, state of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024. The supplemental ordinance allows for an appropriation in the general fund in the sum as follows. Equipment maintenance fire in the amount of $20,000. These funds are needed due to an unexpected and out of the ordinary issue with the fire department fleet.
Move to suspend the rules, give this ordinance a second and third reading by title only.
Moved by Mr. Schmidt to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second and third reading by title only. Discussion? Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024. An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024.
Move to adopt the ordinance.
That's kind of stereo. Moved by Mr. Rogers to adopt the ordinance. Discussion? Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to number 5, a transfer ordinance.
An ordinance for the transfer of funds among the appropriations of the various funds of the City of Greenville. This transfer ordinance allows for transfers in the Public Transportation Fund in the sum as follows. $10,000 from professional service transit to office supplies transit. This transfer is needed for the expense of an unemployment claim. $30,000 from professional service transit to maintenance transit. This transfer is needed for additional maintenance costs.
Move to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second and third reading by title only.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second and third reading by title only. Discussion? Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
An ordinance for the transfer of funds among the appropriations of the various funds of the City of Greenville. An ordinance for the transfer of funds among the appropriations of the various funds of the City of Greenville.
Motion to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Godwin to adopt the ordinance. Discussion?
Mr. President, a question regarding the funds in the professional services category. What was budgeted there and what was it for?
It's for software, but I'll find.
That was budgeted for software. So originally we had budgeted for software, and then we were going to switch our software company, and we were trying to get a grant from ODOT for that software. The grant didn't come through, so we decided not to purchase that new software, but the money was already appropriated in the professional services out of the budget now because of the unemployment, which we have to pay. And then same, just like at the fire department, the transit bus maintenance line, we've had not a great year as far as transmissions and tires and engine repairs. It's been a hard maintenance year. But keep in mind, so we transfer this money, we pay for it on the front end, and then ODOT reimburses us 80/20. So they pay 80% and we pay 20% of maintenance on vehicles.
So was the $40,000 the total amount in the professional services budget?
There was, I think, 65 or 70 is what the software was supposed to originally cost.
And is transferring the money to office supplies the right place to transfer it?
That's where we have to pay unemployment out of, is the office supplies line.
That's my mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
It didn't seem right.
Yeah, it does seem weird. I'll give it to you.
Fine. Thank you for the answers.
You're welcome.
Oh, that went away under trivia.
Any other questions? Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to number 6, a resolution authorizing internet grant for water and wastewater infrastructure program.
A resolution authorizing entering into a grant agreement for a water and wastewater infrastructure program. This resolution authorizes the Safety Service Director to enter into a grant agreement for $1.2 million with the Ohio Department of Development for the Water and Wastewater Infrastructure Program.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this resolution and read it by title only, second and third time.
Moved by Mr. Godwin to suspend the rules, give this resolution second and third reading by title only. Discussion? Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
A resolution authorizing entering into a grant agreement for a water and wastewater infrastructure program. A resolution authorizing entering into a grant agreement for a water and wastewater infrastructure program.
Move to adopt the resolution.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adopt the resolution. Discussion.
Mr. President, just a simple question. Can you explain this in layman's terms, all of this 18 pages is? Other than you're applying for the grant, I got it.
So we got the grant. So this is just the agreement with ODOT. They've already awarded us the grant for the 1.2 million. So this was the Close the Gap grant on the 502 project that we applied for after the fact. So this is just the agreement. So once we sign off on this, then I can submit all of our pay apps to Department of Development, and they'll reimburse us.
Just cleaning up what's already done.
Correct.
Mr. Turner. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Clarence?
Nope.
You good?
Yep.
Mr. Brown, you good? I'm good. Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yep.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
All right, moving on to number 7, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter in a contract with DCJFS for transit services.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into contract with the Dark County Jobs and Family Services to provide transit services. This resolution authorizes the mayor to enter into a contract with Dark County Job and Family Services for transit services that provide the city with compensation in the amount of $22.65 for each person each way.
Move to suspend the rules, give this resolution second, third reading by title only.
Moved by Mr. Schmidt to suspend the rules, to give this resolution second and third reading by title only. Discussion. Call the roll.
Rogers?
No.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Brown?
Abstain.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes. Kim, is there enough to suspend the rules? 2 out of 7? Nope. Okay, we'll have to get that to first reading. Moving on to number 8, resolution authorizing the mayor to enter in a contract with Rest Haven for transit services.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into contract with Rest Haven to provide transit services. This resolution authorizes the mayor to enter into contract with Rest Haven for transit services that provide the city with compensation in the amount of $22.65 for each person each way.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this resolution and read it by title only, second and third time.
Moved by Mr. Godwin to suspend the rules, give this resolution second and third reading by title only. Discussion on suspending the rules. Call the roll.
Rogers?
No.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Brown?
Abstain.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes. Okay, put that in for next meeting. Number 9, resolution authorizing advertising for bids for Phase 2 of the sidewalk project.
A resolution authorizing advertising for bids for Phase 2 of the sidewalk project for 2024. This resolution authorizes the Safety Service Director to advertise for bids for Phase 2 of the sidewalk project for 2024.
Move to suspend the rules, give this resolution second and third reading by title only.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to suspend the rules, give this resolution second, third reading by title only. Discussion on suspending the rules. Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
A resolution authorizing advertising for bids for Phase 2 of the sidewalk project for 2024. A resolution authorizing advertising for bids for Phase 2 of the sidewalk project for 2024.
Move to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Brown to adopt this resolution. Discussion on adoption.
Do they have a
What?
price?
Go ahead.
Do they have a price on what, estimated price of what it's going to be?
223,000 is the overall engineer's estimate for Phase 2.
So that's a lot smaller than Phase 1.
Yeah, so when we set the phases up, we did a big phase, a little phase, we're staggering them. That way we can start getting the return from Phase 1 back, so then once you get to Phase 3 and 4, you keep your money churning over. So we kind of laid it out that way to have bigger ones and smaller ones year after year.
So obviously you advertised for bids for Phase 1.
Yep.
It's just, this is doing the process, churning the process again?
Yeah, so this is just advertising for bids for Phase 2.
I have a question then. In your, I don't know what to call it, so in your submission of what the requirements are, I would hope that we're going to be maybe spell out some requirements for cleaning up trim the, doing the gutters a little better, doing some things that maybe weren't done at best. I mean, I'm not telling you how to do your job, but
Nope.
we sure heard a lot of complaints on phase one.
You are correct.
I don't wish for you to have a headache in phase two.
Nope, you are correct. We learned a lot in phase one.
Yeah, I bet you did.
That wasn't easy learning, we learned a lot. So yes, we've cleaned up a lot of the language, and then, phase three, like, we have it figured out way more than phase one. Yeah, and then by the time we get to phase 3 and 4, it'll be smooth sailing. We hope.
We hope. I'll hope for you, because, I mean, that was unreal. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And keep in mind, this is the first time the city of Greenville's ever done something like this. So, and it's something that, my almost 20 years on council, we've been talking about a sidewalk program forever, and so we finally got it going, and yeah, we stubbed our toe a little bit, but we're gonna fix it, and it's gonna be bigger and better.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Learn from the first one.
Any other discussion? Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to number 10, a ordinance increasing the number of street openings and reducing the guaranteed bond for 2024 Vectren Energy.
An ordinance increasing the number of street openings to be permitted and reducing the amount of the guarantee bond to be required in connection with the 2024 Vectren Energy Delivery Gas Lateral Replacement Project. This ordinance authorizes the increase of the number of street openings to 60 street openings, reducing the guarantee bond to $100,000 and charging $25 per permit for the 2024 Vectren Energy Gas Lateral Replacement Project.
Move to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second and third reading by title only.
Moved by Mr. Schmidt to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second and third reading by title only. Discussion on suspending the rules. Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
An ordinance increasing the number of street openings to be permitted and reducing the amount of the guarantee bond to be required in connection with the 2024 Vectren Energy Delivery Gas Lateral Replacement Project. An ordinance increasing the number of street openings to be permitted and reducing the amount of the guarantee bond to be required in connection with the 2024 Vectren Energy Delivery Gas Lateral Replacement Project.
Move to adopt the ordinance.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adopt the ordinance. Discussion.
Ryan, just for clarification, Vectren Energy Delivery is still an existing company, as opposed to CenterPoint.
They're not, it should be Centerpoint. You're correct.
Okay. Can we?
Yes, you're correct.
I kept thinking, okay,
Yep.
thank you. Should we change that somehow?
Kim, does that need change in the legislation?
Because they're no longer in, because they've been bought out by,
Yeah, it needs to be Centerpoint.
Point.
They were bought out by Centerpoint.
right, so we can just make note of the amendment.
Okay.
And then we can, it's just a typo, it's still
Right.
with the same company, so we can change the legislation, the typo, and go forward.
Yep. I'm sure Vectren's doing business as Centerpoint now
It's
anyway.
possible,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
When it
We'll
hits-
put notes in the.
When it hits the bank account, it still says veteran.
It doesn't. There you go, Mr. Brown.
Just says
All right, call the roll. Any other discussion? Good catch.
I wanted to say one thing about Vectren or Centerpoint, but Ritter is the company that does the street openings.
Yep.
And they do a very good job of fixing things, repairing things, no holes left out there. And, I have no problem reducing their rates for doing that for them.
They're a great company, and yeah, we've worked really hard to get them and keep them because they do, you're right, they make life a whole lot easier.
Yes.
We got some long-term employees too. Yep. Any other discussion? Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
yes.
White?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to number 11, an ordinance to establish a sidewalk maintenance fund.
An ordinance to establish a sidewalk maintenance fund. This ordinance authorizes the auditor to obtain permission from the auditor of state to establish a sidewalk maintenance fund in order to aggregate money for and from the sidewalk replacement phases.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this ordinance and read it by title only, second, third time.
Moved by Mr. Godwin to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second and third reading by title only. Discussion on suspending of the rules. Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
An ordinance to establish a sidewalk maintenance fund. An ordinance to establish a sidewalk maintenance fund.
Move to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Brown to adopt. Discussion.
Mr. President, just a question. How do we understand the mechanism of establishing the fund? How do we fund the fund?
So when we receive funding or grant monies from ARPA, we put, those funds went back to start the sidewalk project. Okay? There are still funds. Those funds were put in a different general account, and it was my wish and my discussion with the auditors when they came to separate, because I'm not going to be here forever, Ryan's not going to be here forever, and we know we know and have kept that money separated, but it was my wish to get a separate fund so that those funds are clearly stated that this is the sidewalk project, so the monies that are left will be put in there, and then any revenue that we've received, which we've received close to 100,000
It's
probably.
over 100,000 so
now,
far.
is it? Yeah, because we just been receiving it monthly in our office, so you guys have a better figure for that. So those revenue items will go directly into that fund. So it will be a standalone fund, just like the water fund or wastewater fund or street fund, so that you can clearly see these are sidewalk revenues, these are sidewalk expenses for the project, and it's only going to be for the project, and then any revenues that go in.
So in 10 years from now, when we're done with all the phases, we can do away with this.
I'm thinking, I better recycle.
Time to go again.
We'll have to keep starting. We'll have to start over.
but.
Yeah.
So there's not a cap on how big you want to grow?
No, it just,
Minimum how much you want?
no.
Okay.
It's just to keep that funding separate, so we know exactly what goes in and what goes out for that particular project.
And Kim, if I could add on, as far as the tax receipts, if we go and do phase one and we're finished and we're collecting the money and we actually adhere that to the property taxes, the county collects those,
Yes.
disperses them to us. This is a fund to incorporate that in, just so because this is phase one and we've got multiple phases going, so we have an account to get not only the outgoing, but also the incoming funds,
Correct.
because those are going to be strung out for years.
Right, any payments we receive. So we invoice some, and like you just mentioned, the county also if we assess the property owner, then the county also pays us twice a year
everybody-
as part of a special assessment.
Knows that that's an ongoing
Correct,
inbound fund as well.
correct.
So the granularity of if it's put on property taxes, penny for penny, dollar for dollar, it will come back to this fund?
Yes, if they wish not to pay their invoice, then we assess their taxes, which we will be bringing that legislation in August. We give them until, we have to send legislation to the county in August in order to make that assessment. If they have not paid the invoice that we did the repairs, then we invoice them as the city. If they have not paid the city for that invoice, then that invoice can then be assessed against their property tax. That property tax is assessed at the county level. Any fees that the county collects, they have to collect. Then we are given dollar for dollar what we assessed. That is correct.
Okay. And the county doesn't take a portion of it?
They do, but it's on top of what we've already assessed. They don't get a portion of what we assess them. We get we get that back.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
And that's spread out over 5 years?
5 years. Correct.
Okay. Any other questions on the sidewalk maintenance fund ordinance? Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to number 12, a resolution adopting a transit reserve policy.
A resolution adopting the transit reserve policy. This resolution adopts the transit reserve policy, which is used to build and maintain an adequate level of net assets to support the organization's day-to-day operations in the event of unforeseen shortfalls.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this resolution, read it by title only, second, third time.
Good.
Moved by Mr. Godwin to suspend the rules, give this resolution second and third reading by title only. Discussion on suspending the rules. Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
A resolution adopting the transit reserve policy. A resolution adopting the transit reserve policy.
Move to adopt the resolution.
Moved by Mr. Brown to adopt a resolution. Discussion.
Mr. President, just a question. How do we do this?
So, I mean, if you want to, I can tell you how it works, but like the how is through the auditors or through the auditor of state. But
tell 'em about-
basically, this was a recommendation from ODOT, our ODOT audit, our pre-audit, on the transit fund. So we are one of 3 of the 88 counties in Ohio who do not have a transit reserve fund. Yeah. Well, so there's 88 counties, 3 counties don't have one, and we're one of those 3. That,
So we operate just on a budget.
so the reserve fund, and it's an ODOT rule. So basically, so say at transit, say we do, we'll use round numbers. So say we do $100,000 in operating expenses in a month, and then we submit that to ODOT. ODOT gives us 50% of that back. And then the 50% is what we paid out of, whether it's from our budget or from contracts or fees, revenue. So basically, without a transfer reserve fund, so basically if we, say we collect $60,000, say we have $100,000 and say we collect $60,000 in revenue, then ODOT will only pay us 40% without a $40,000 without a transfer reserve fund. If we have a transfer reserve fund, they'll let us put $10,000 back in a rainy day transfer reserve fund, and then they'll pay us the 50%. But without it, they only will pay whatever the difference is.
That's what they've been doing up to this point?
No, we haven't had it.
We've not
Have not had one.
But, well, keep in mind, we used to sub,
We've only been in transit for, what, a year and 18 months?
8.
because it was always subcontracted out.
Subcontracted, yes.
Third party.
Yes, that's a very good point.
Yep. Katie, did Ryan hit that? Okay.
So there's no cost to the city to do this.
No, it's just a way for us to save funds.
Accounting method to get the state to give more money.
Yep.
ODOT to give more money.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool. Any other questions? Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yep.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
All right, and one more, number 13, supplemental ordinance.
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024. This supplemental ordinance allows for appropriations in the Stormwater Fund, Street Fund, Pool Fund, and Park Fund, and the sum as follows. Equipment maintenance, storm, in the amount of $15,103. Light and sign maintenance in the amount of $4,368. Equipment maintenance pool in the amount of $1,649. New equipment pool in the amount of $6,475. Salaries park in the amount of $39,881. Professional services park in the amount of $65,000. Equipment maintenance park in the amount of $41,792. These funds are needed for repairs in the park due to tornado damage.
Move to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second and third reading by title only.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second and third reading by title only. Discussion on suspending the rules. Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yep.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024. An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024.
Move to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Brown to adopt this ordinance. Discussion.
So this is just the first of many to come?
Yes.
And this is like 150 grand?
Yep.
And this one, and estimated going forward in total, this is 150 of 600 of?
So we received $373,000 from insurance. And so that is basically what they've given us to repair everything that's
This is above and beyond that.
broken. All of these items are costs that we're not going to get reimbursed by the insurance because of removing the trees, the stumps, that kind of thing. The insurance is for the rebuilding portion
I
of it.
understand that.
Yep.
There'll be more of these in the approximate value of how much going forward, do we think?
So I believe, and I believe this will be it for cleanup, the $150,000 range. And then we're gonna have to move that 373, possibly more, for then the repair of everything.
But that's just in and out.
Yep.
I mean, that's a net zero to us.
Right. Yes.
Okay, that's all.
I think that this 150 should cover our cleanup stage.
Thank you.
Not rebuild stage.
Right, I understand. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yep.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to, that completes our ordinance and resolutions. Moving on to new business, we have a Ohio Division of Liquor Control permit.
To City of Greenville Council, I have reviewed the request for a Class A liquor permit submitted by Casey's Marketing in reference to the gas station located at 1250 East West Road in Greenville, Ohio. Upon review and investigation, it is my recommendation the permit should be granted. Respectfully submitted, Lieutenant Benji.
You need a motion to not have a public hearing?
Yeah, is that how we've done it?
Yeah.
You can either request a public hearing.
Yeah, we can either request a public hearing or not.
Not to.
Okay, and usually that's the way for new members, that's usually the way, if the police chief recommends it, we don't recommend a hearing. If, we have had in the past where, police department has not recommended it, and then we've requested a hearing, but they still got it. Just so you know. So,
So that's part one, then the discussion comes up later after that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
so motion to, not request.
Yes.
Any discussion on that, other than what I just said? Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yep.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
And then number 2, we have a request for a handicap parking permit.
To Greenville City Council, I have reviewed the application for special parking for handicapped persons submitted by J. Moan of 1005 Central Avenue, Greenville, Ohio. After inspection of said property and reviewing attached documents, I have determined the requirements have been met, and it is my recommendation that a handicap parking sign be erected in front of the residence of 1005 Central Avenue. Respectfully submitted, Lieutenant Benji.
Ryan, Kim, do we need to vote on that, or just accept it?
Yeah, we usually.
Okay.
Usually.
So I'll need a motion to either accept or not accept.
What motion we accept it?
Motion to accept the handicap permit. Discussion.
Put a sign up.
Yeah.
Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yep.
Brown?
Yep.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Okay, under old business, we have nothing. Council representing the outside committees, Architecture Review Board, which is...
Me.
Is it you? Okay.
So our meeting this month was canceled. Last month, we did vote on topsy-turvy and approving their sign. And in that, we granted a variance just because it's a little bigger than the standard storefront. However, they have a double storefront, so it's one of the reasons it was granted, and it just looked better overall. So we all thought. So we will welcome them to town, and they have a couple other locations, I believe. I can't remember.
Tip City, New Bremen.
Yeah, there you go. So,
So are they in that whole building where...
or Ann's was.
Yeah, Ann's was? Really? Okay.
They're taking over the Cornell building.
Right.
Completely.
Good.
They said, at a meeting that I was with them, they said that they were going to not be at full stock from the very beginning, but as they do the work on the inside and decide what products they're bringing to our community. I'm really excited about them being there because it's one of those, it's just not a typical toy store. There's educational and interesting things. Even big kids would like to play with. Not mentioning, yeah, not mentioning any names.
And that's all I got. I'll pass.
Anything else? That's it. Well, thank you for that report. Communications?
We received the monthly report of May from the street department.
And call of council.
Rogers?
I think I'll pass tonight.
Schmidt?
I'll pass.
White?
I'll go ahead and thank everybody for being here tonight and putting up with all of my questions. I don't know how else to learn. So, thank you, everybody, for being here.
Brown?
Just, again, want to say what a great job I think the cleanup of the park has been. Probably a couple weeks ago, I drove my 7-year-old through the park, and to see the emotion on a 7-year-old was amazing. We then drove back through it about an hour later, and she said to me, "Oh no, can we not go through here again? This is sad." And so to see that emotion and then to know what we're doing and where we're going and to see the amount of money that has been raised is just phenomenal to me. It's a great community and it's just really neat. So I can't wait till it's back in full force and she cannot be sad about the park. With that, I pass.
Ely?
I just wanted to, Jana mentioned that on Friday, there is an event, and it was supposed to be held at Yolo Park, but now it will be held at Sure Shot. It's called Make Music, and it is a nationwide plan that is going forth. Right now, one of the spearheads is Sue Houston, and I'm sorry, the young lady, I can't remember her name at present, but she's with the DD, Dark County Development for Disabilities. And they had a concert there last year, and this was it's fun. And one of the things that happened last year, and I'm just going to put it out there for you to think about as council members, the county courthouse staff, they had a number of people who came together and they sang a song. I was thinking it might be great if council and maybe our fire department and our auditors, I think we should challenge them, you know? I'm just saying, you could think about it, okay? No arm twisting yet.
What's a song? What's a song?
Well, I mean, I thought we could do a patriotic song, but I will be participating this year with my friend Kathy Brewer, her daughter Elizabeth, and my sister we're always active. My sister still is in the DD. So Sue did a little arm twisting, and I volunteered. Can you believe I volunteered? I know. So I think I'm looking forward to it. So 11 to 1. You're on your lunch break, come down, and I'm not promising anything, but there is good music down there.
Ryan and I will join if we can sing from our cars and
Is that, okay.
with the windows up.
That's about as close as you want me, I'll guarantee you that.
I'll just say, I just think it's something, again, that we promote our park and we promote a community that's in our community, another community of people. I just think it's fun, so no arm twisting yet, okay? Thanks. I'll pass.
Godwin?
I want to excuse the absences for this month. Make a motion.
Motion to excuse the absence for the month of June. Discussion. Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
And also, the Creme de la Creme is having a ribbon cutting this Friday from,
Ooh, 1 o'clock? Noon?
I believe it's at 1.
Okay.
yeah.
Because I seen something about free dessert, so I'm in.
Yeah. So much for the singing, right?
I lose. That's okay.
Yeah. Doris, I might have to pick you up on that Friday, come down there, and I'm not singing, but I'll participate and watch it.
I'll be there.
I think that's just as important. We need people to receive the music, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, okay? That's all, thank you.
And, like to thank everybody for coming up tonight, and with that, I'll pass.
Norris?
Yeah, thanks, everybody, and especially the department heads. And Shannon, nice to see you there as deputy auditor. Thank you for coming. I was invited, the council was invited 2 weeks ago to Family Fun Night at Dark DD, and I went to that, and what a great time and what a crowd that was there. All the activities for the kids and the free Kona ice out there at Dark County Park District, and they brought a couple of their critters with them there. But I bet you, just when I was there for an hour, I counted, 250, 300 people. I mean, it was neat. It was their second one. Last year, Sue said that they'd done one in July, and it was hot. Of course, here we are in June, but last week's weather was absolutely perfect out there, and the squad was there. Lieutenant Benji, the sheriff's office had a canine officer out there, so it was just a neat time, and like I said, we had picture-perfect weather at that point. And then, the open house or the ribbon cutting on Friday, I definitely want to go to that. But with that, I will pass.
President Baumgartner?
Yep, so two things. One is just a big thanks to both funeral homes. I talked to Kent Zecker today, and they're close to $70,000 raising, and their goal was to try to get 20 or 25. So they're just blowing it away. So just big thanks to both of those entities that's done that, and all the people that's donated. Just a big thanks. It shows what a great community we live in. And then more for the media, if you could just post, today I had someone door-to-door salesman selling electric. It's against city ordinance to do that. So remind the citizens if there is someone coming through your door trying to sell you something, unless they're Girl Scout cookies or a school entity or a nonprofit, they're not allowed to do that. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Wow. I did hear Leon first, so.
Moved by Everett.
Now, you see, that could be called that could be a chorus.
Yeah.
There we go.
Call roll.
Rogers? Yes. Schmidt?
Yes.
White? Yep. Brown?
Yes.
Healy?
Yes.
Godwin? Yes. Norris?
Yes.
Just saying.